Okay, friends, today we will be dealing with mitral valve prolapse. Uh, After the advent of ECHO, there have been a lot of cases of mitral valve prolapse. I have seen few of my own friends who have been diagnosed with mitral valve prolapse. Many of them worry, what does it do, what are the cardiac complications, what are the problems. There are a lot of queries among general population. So today we will be dealing with mitral valve prolapse in toto. So what are the other names for mitral valve prolapse? It is also called as the Barlow syndrome. So what does this mitral valve prolapse basically means? It means there is excessive mitral valve tissue. There is excessive mitral valve tissue and it is redundant. This is because there is decreased production of type 3 collagen, and there is evidence of collagen destruction is also seen, and there is myxomatous degeneration of the mitral valve tissues with increased deposition of glycosaminoglycan. So there is myxomatous degeneration, increased deposition of glycosaminoglycan, decreased production of type 3 procollagen. So which results in excessive mitral valve tissue. What does this excess mitral valve tissue do? During a contraction, this mitral valve tissue can enter into the left atrium during its contraction. Because it enters into the left atrium, there will be more amount of strain on the chordae tendineae and the papillary muscles. Because you know, the mitral valves are attached to by the chordae tendineae to the papillary muscles. When this mitral leaflet enters into the left atrium, this will increase the strain on the chordae tendineae and the papillary muscles. This strain on the papillary muscle can lead to papillary muscle dysfunction, and the strain on the chordae tendineae can lead to chordae tendineal rupture, and there can be annular dilatation. So this is responsible for all the symptoms of mitral valve prolapse. So what does it do? It is the most commonly associated reason for primary mitral regurgitation. So mitral valve prolapse is the most common cause for primary mitral regurgitation. So what are the causes of mitral valve prolapse? The causes of mitral valve prolapse can be either hereditary or acquired causes. The hereditary causes includes Barlow syndrome. The Barlow syndrome is an autosomal dominant condition. It is due to the mutation in Notch gene. It is seen in younger females. So what are the other conditions associated with mitral valve prolapse? First one is the Marfan syndrome, and the second one will be the Hegler-Dönles syndrome, and third one will be the osteogenesis imperfecta. These are the three common conditions which are associated with the development of mitral valve prolapse. There can be other conditions like ostium secundum atrial septal defect, or an acute rheumatic fever, or cardiomyopathies. These things can also produce mitral valve prolapse, but they are very less common. It is usually acquired with this associated with this connective tissue disorders. So how do they present? They can be either, there are two groups of patients for a mitral valve prolapse patient. First is a 15-year-old female with a benign mitral valve prolapse, and the second group will be an elderly male or 60-year-old male presenting with mitral valve prolapse associated with mitral regurgitation. These are the two groups of patients, and majority of them will be asymptomatic. There won't be any symptoms, or there will be just an echo diagnosis. Sometimes they can have symptoms because of the arrhythmias. As we mentioned earlier, the papillary muscle dysfunction can produce ventricular dysfunction, regional ventricular dysfunction, that can produce ventricular arrhythmias in the form of ventricular premature complex. Represented VPs is ventricular premature complex, and atrial premature complex, or any supraventricular arrhythmias like atrial fibrillation, or ventricular arrhythmias in the form of VT. Any of these things are possible. They can present with palpitation, dizziness, syncope, pre-syncope. Any manifestation of this is possible. So who are the patient who are having high risk of developing sudden cardiac death? mitral valve prolapse patient who have got a severe mitral regurgitation with evidence of LV dysfunction with the flail leaflets. These are the patients who have got higher probability of developing sudden cardiac death. Okay. Now, what are the auscultatory findings of mitral valve prolapse? First thing, you can either develop a click or a click followed by a murmur or only murmur. Any of the three combination is possible. First, you will see with click. This click is a non-ejection clicker, non-ejection mid-systolic click due to sudden tension of the chordae tendineae. This click is usually followed by the murmur. The murmur is a mid-systolic, mid to late systolic crescendo, decrescendo murmur. Either the patient can have this only this non-ejection clicker, or the click followed by the murmur, or only murmur. Any of the three combination is possible. Now, what does what is meant by a dynamic auscultation? Dynamic auscultation means there will be changes, there will be certain maneuvers. When you do these maneuvers, you will have certain changes. This includes, first group includes standing or Valsalva. Both standing and Valsalva, with both will decrease the LV cavity volume, because when you are standing, the venous pools in the lower limb, that is venous return decreases. When you do Valsalva also, the venous return decreases. So, the LV volume is reduced. When the LV volume is reduced, the click and the murmur complex moves close towards S1. That is what happens. Whereas in case of squatting, in case of leg raising, in case of these conditions, there will be increase in left ventricular volume. When the left ventricular volume increases, the click murmur complex will either move away from S1 or it will fade away. This is dynamic auscultation. So, what are the investigatory findings? The first basic investigation you do in any cardiac disease will be an ECG. The ECG will show three common changes. It can either be normal, or it can show evidence of an APC or an VPC or an atrial fibrillation or any arrhythmias like ventricular tachycardia. Anything can be seen, or they can have evidence of T inversion in 2-3 AVF. Both these findings can be seen in the ECG, or ECG is usually normal. Then the second investigation you do is the echocardiography. In the echo 2D echo, this echo is a diagnostic evaluation in a case with mitral valve prolapse. What does this echo identify? This echo can identify the systolic displacement of the belly of the mitral leaflet into the left atrium, more than 2 mm above the annulus plane. That is, if this is the mitral valve annulus, the plane of the mitral valve annulus, and this is the mitral tissue, this mitral leaflet during systole will move into the left atrium. If this movement of into the left atrium is more than 2 millimeters, then that is significant prolapsing. Coming to prolapse, it can also identify the regurgitant orifice area. It also can identify the regurgitant volume of blood from the LV into left atrium, and it can also identify and quantify the mitral regurgitant volume. The regurgitation, the mitral valve prolapse, most commonly seen in the mitral valve, but this valve prolapsing can also involve the tricuspid valve, the aortic valve. They can also be involved, and also the posterior mitral leaflet is more commonly involved than anterior mitral leaflet in mitral valve prolapsing. Then third is a dynamic testing. Dynamic testing means this is done to identify the functional limitation of the patient. Certain patients with mitral valve prolapse, the resting echo can be normal, but they will be advised to do dynamic exercise testing for a period of 6 minutes, and then if there are some stress event should be given, and if it's followed by that, if you do an ECG or an echo, you can identify the presence of any new LV, RV dysfunction, mitral regurgitation, or the pulmonary vascular pressure. Anything of that sort can be identified. So how do you manage? First, medical management. if the patient has got a previous, now we will be dealing with the management of mitral valve prolapse. First, if the patient is having a previous history of infective endocarditis, the patient should be put on infective endocarditis prophylaxis. 1. Secondly, if the patient is having any chest pain or palpitation, the patient can be started around beta blockers. There is second lines. These beta blockers can be a propranolol or a metoprolol. They can be started at a low dose and titrated based on the blood pressure and the heart rate response. Thirdly, who patients taking a first surgery? Who do you take a first surgery? Mitral valve prolapse patient with a severe mitral regurgitation, or with patients with new onset atrial fibrillation, or a patient with an increase in the pulmonary artery pressure. These 3 patients, or if the patient is symptomatic, any mitral valve prolapse patient, a symptomatic patient can be taken up for surgery. Surgery means mitral valve repair that is preferred over replacement. Recently, transcatheter mitral valve repair using clip has also been doing for high risk patients who cannot do surgeries. In those patients, this transcatheter mitral valve repair can be done. So then summary, any patient presenting with chest pain, palpitation, any arrhythmias, usually an younger female, if there is echo evidence of mitral valve prolapse, the patient can initially be managed with beta blockers or If the vital regurgitation increases or if the patient goes in for LV dysfunction, you have to go for surgical repair in the form of mitral valve repair. Thank you.